Anti-violence protesters in Chicago took to the street.
We see around the 606 is not
the second protest in less than a month.
to set aside 1% for affordable housing.
Planners hope to highlight the city's inattention to the needs of its low-income residents.
An apartment is for rent for $1,500, almost double of what it was just 2 years ago.
Yes! Segregation? No! Community?
I first, from the outset, have to say that gentrification is the most misused word in the city when we're talking about urban planning or any type of neighborhood development. So I want to start by saying what gentrification is. It is the displacement of lower income people who are then replaced by higher earning income people. So it's displacement and replacement. But it is a class-based phenomenon.
How long have you been working in this neighborhood?
37 years.
I've lived in Bridgeport for about 5 years.
The demographic is changing. There's a bunch of like white folks coming in.
What was the neighborhood like when you just started out?
It was very different. It was much more a working class neighborhood. It was a more diverse population, lower rents, not as many homeowners.
So you'd say it's harder to manage now that the neighborhood is changing?
Well, no, it's not for us, but for other people, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you describe changes you've noted in your own neighborhood, and have you noticed a change in the demographic makeup of Bridgeport?
Yeah, there's been a change in the demographic makeup of Bridgeport. It's mostly that younger, educated people who are not from the neighborhood are moving into the neighborhood, whereas before it was mostly families that would buy, their mother's or aunts or grandmother's building. The block I live on, for instance, there's only 5 families that live on the block, including me, right? So that's the biggest shift that we've noticed.
Pero venían siempre con otra persona que de latina, pero venían a comer y a conocer un poco, algunos a ver los murales. Ahora ya los ves a todas horas, con restaurantes de comida mexicana, pero con dueños anglos. Los dueños son anglos y tienen los cocineros mexicanos.
No housing, no jobs, no community organizations. I live in a building that 20, 30 years ago, people were afraid to walk by. In the building that I live now, I'm the only Mexican.
Has there been a change in infrastructure?
Oh yeah, I mean now we have permit parking. You can only park here when you live here. Rents have gone up tremendously, which is your next question. So all the mom and pop stores are kind of phased out, so mostly big boxes, and
Have you noticed a trend in property values or taxes rising or falling?
Property values in urban centers in the United States are rising. And in Bridgeport specifically, it's been identified as a middle-class neighborhood that's near the downtown area. So yeah, property values have been rising.
It's clear that gentrification has a devastating effect on many people, but like many other issues in society, it has failed to gain much attention. There are several possible causes for gentrification, including imposed economic policy, which leads formerly redline neighborhoods to become prime locations for wealthy investors and inhabitants to move in, the changing preference of white, college-educated people, a lack of affordable housing, as developers often opt to build luxury units, and uneven investment, which leads some previously low-income neighborhoods to be in high demand by wealthy buyers due to new infrastructure.
We want to paint a vivid image of a tale of two cities. We want those who are on the north side, who have been insulated from the violence, we want them to be able to feel our pain, has effectively created strategic gentrification and has ultimately committed what I want to call economic violence, because he has disinvested in our schools. 50 schools closed in black and brown neighborhoods, and mental health institutions closed. And we just believe it's time for the entire city, especially those in affluent neighborhoods, to know what's going on the other side of town. We're one city. It's a tale of two cities, and we need justice for all Chicagoans.
How does this affect you, and how does it affect others around you?
I wanted to buy a multi-unit building for the last 3 years, and it became increasingly difficult with the price hikes. And now that I do own one and have renters, I just got a statement for my property taxes. They're going to be rising, I think, $3,800 over the year. And I mean, for me, and other landlords, especially landlords that where their buildings are their sole source of income, which is not the case for me, those costs unfortunately get passed on to renters, right? So when you buy a building and you price point how much your rent is going to be for the space based on how much money you're going to make, when those prices increase, unfortunately it's not the owners that bear the brunt of it, it's the renters themselves.
What's your opinion on the changes that have occurred?
Well, some changes are good, but not change by its very definition is not always good. You know, it's like only a certain class of people can live here, and so people with lesser economic means cannot live in this neighborhood anymore. Property high. Values of the homes have gone up, which is good for people that live here, but not good for the other people that would like to live here. So yeah, change is not always good.
There's a positive correlation between proximity to Starbucks and home value. It is more expensive to live next to a Starbucks than a Dunkin' Donuts. Do home buyers want to pay more for their proximity to Starbucks? Is this a sign that residents can afford more expensive coffee? Probably not. Economists Raskoff and Humphreys attribute this correlation to the fact that Starbucks tends to locate their stores in upscale neighborhoods. Whatever the reasons, because they genuinely like drinking coffee, or because they see Starbucks as a proxy for gentrification, it seems pretty clear that people are paying a premium for homes near Starbucks, the author said. And furthermore, it looks like Starbucks itself is driving the increase in home values, Raskoff and Humphreys. The value of your house can depend on how close you live to a Starbucks. Between 1997 and 2013, the property values of homes within a quarter mile of a Starbucks rose 96%, according to Zillow. That's compared to a 65% increase in property values on average for all U.S. homes during that time frame. After Whole Foods opened in Detroit in mid-2013, property values in the area saw an increase of $19,000 in 2009 to $80,000 in 2015. Money Magazine.
And what do you expect having Starbucks in your neighborhood will mean for property values?
I think it's a marker of familiarity for people. They're going to be more willing to come to the neighborhood. I think that it might drive out a few small cafes. There's only 3 places to buy a cup of coffee in Bridgeport as it is. So I would imagine that having a Starbucks with a drive-through, no less, on one of our biggest corners is going to affect some business.
You may think as one person, the issue of gentrification is out of your hands, but it's not. Here are some things you could do to improve the situation.
Do you think there's anything that citizens in Chicago can do to sort of help out the businesses that you notice?
Well, people have to be more open-minded.
Although gentrification is the result of powerful economic forces, you can help fight back. One way is by voting in local elections. There is no level of government that is more directly responsible for serving your community than your local elected officials. Local government officials make decisions that can impact a city for generations. Everything from schools to business development to affordable housing are decisions made by the city's leadership, and although every city's infrastructure is different, the issues are the same. Another way you can help is by supporting local businesses. Local ownership ensures that important decisions are made locally by people who live in the community and who feel the impacts of those decisions. Local business owners often have incentive to support other local businesses, patronizing local establishments for both business and personal reasons. Chain businesses, on the other hand, tend to get their supplies from corporate, as well as having store managers and employees that aren't as personally invested in buying local. Compared to chain stores, locally owned businesses recycle a much larger share of their revenue back into the local community, enriching the whole community. One Chicago study found that for every $100 spent at a local business, $68 remained in the city, while only $43 of each $100 spent at a chain retailer. A marketplace of tens of thousands of small businesses is the best way to ensure innovation and low prices over the long term.